Americans versus Chinese, trade war and cultural clashes in 2025. Narration. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of our Cultural Curiosities channel. Today we're diving into one of the hottest showdowns of 2025, the United States versus China. But hold on, we're not talking about a war with weapons. We're talking about an economic battle that's reshaping the entire world. And more importantly, we're going to discover how the customs and mindsets of each people influence this gigantic dispute. Get ready, because this comparison will definitely surprise you. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell and drop that like, and tell us in the comments, are you Tao Team USA or Sao Team China? Let's go. What's happening right now? To understand the customs, we first need to understand the context. In 2025, the trade war between the US and China has reached historic levels. We're talking about tariffs of up to 145% imposed by the US on Chinese products, and China hitting back with 125% on American goods. It's like each country saying, your products will cost a lot here. But why is this happening? Donald Trump, back in office, accuses China of unfair trade practices. Meanwhile, China accuses the US of excessive protectionism. And while these two giants fight, the rest of the world watches and suffers the consequences. The US wants to protect its industry and block China's technological rise. China wants to keep growing and dominate strategic sectors like tech, electric cars and clean energy. It's an economic tug-of-war where both sides are pulling with all their strength. The American mindset, the dream of individualism. Now let's talk about customs. First, the Americans. What defines the American mindset? Individual freedom and competition. For Americans, individual freedom stands above all. From childhood, they're taught that they can be anything they want. President, billionaire, astronaut. It's the famous American dream. The idea is simple. Work hard, compete, win, and you'll succeed. Aggressive capitalism. The US breathes capitalism. Competition is seen as healthy. It drives innovation. Companies fiercely fight for market share. The mindset is, either you're the best or you're out. No wonder giants like Apple, Google, Tesla, and Amazon were born there. Disguised protectionism. But here's an interesting twist. Americans love to talk about the free market, but when they feel threatened, they protect their economy without mercy. Trump's tariffs in 2025 are exactly that, protecting domestic industry. To them, it's not a contradiction. It's defending American interests. Consumer culture. Americans love to consume. Big houses, powerful cars, cutting-edge tech. Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Consumption is almost a national sport. And this directly affects the trade war. They want cheap products, but also want them made in the US. It's a constant dilemma. The Chinese mindset, the power of the collective. Now to the other side of the ring, China, collective thinking. The Chinese mindset is almost the opposite of the American one. In China, the collective comes before the individual. From an early age, people learn that they are part of something greater, the family, the community, the nation. Success isn't yours alone. It belongs to everyone around you. This ancient mentality comes from Confucianism and runs deep in their culture. Long-term planning. While American companies think in quarterly profits, China plans decades ahead. The government has 5, 10, even 30-year plans. The famous Made in China 2025 is one example, a project to dominate high-tech sectors by 2025. They play the long game with strategic patience. The role of the state. In China, the government and businesses work together much more closely than in the US. The state invests heavily in strategic industries, subsidizes companies, and controls the market. For the Chinese, this isn't bad communism, it's smart national strategy. Culture of saving and sacrifice. Unlike Americans, the Chinese have a strong saving culture. They save for future generations and are willing to sacrifice now to enjoy results later. This mindset shows in the trade war, China can endure economic pressure because it's thinking long-term. Technology as a weapon. China is investing heavily in AI, 5G, electric cars, and renewable energy. To them, technology isn't just business, it's national sovereignty. And that scares the Americans, who have always been the kings of innovation. Direct comparison. Daily life customs. Okay, but how do these customs show up in daily life? Let's compare. At work. USA. More relaxed environment, flexible schedules in many companies, emphasis on work-life balance, at least in theory, culture of direct feedback. China. Long work hours are common, like the famous 996, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week in some tech firms. Strict hierarchy, loyalty to the company, less confrontation. In business, USA. Detailed contracts, strong legal processes, everything documented. Business is business. Personal relationships are secondary. China. Personal relationships, guanxi, mean everything. The dinner before the meeting may be more important than the meeting itself. Negotiations are a long process of building trust. In education, USA encourages creativity, critical thinking, questioning, participation, and diverse extracurriculars. China, extreme focus on academic performance, intense competition, especially for the Gaokao, the national college exam, deep respect for teachers, heavy memorization. In consumption, USA, easy credit, installment payments, immediate consumption, buy now, pay later mindset. China, rising consumer culture, especially among the growing middle class. But still strong savings habits. Digital payments dominate. WeChat Pay, Alipay, far more advanced than in the US. In technology, USA, iPhone dominates. Google, Facebook, Meta. Preference for Western brands, growing concern over privacy. China, Huawei, Xiaomi, Tencent, TikTok, Douyin, a completely separate tech ecosystem from the West, less concern about individual privacy, more about convenience. Real impacts of the trade war. So what's the real impact of this war on both countries? In the US, Chinese products became more expensive. Electronics, clothes, toys. Some factories returned to the US, but at a higher cost. Farmers suffered because China bought less American soy. Consumers paid the price with higher costs. Pressure grew to develop domestic technology and reduce dependency. In China, lost some of the US market in certain sectors. Accelerated investment in homegrown technology to avoid dependence on the US. Strengthened partnerships with Europe, Latin America, and Africa. Used rare earths as leverage, materials China dominates globally. Boosted domestic consumption to offset export losses in the rest of the world, including Brazil. Opportunities for those caught in the middle. Brazil can sell more soy to China. But also risks, a more unstable global economy, pressure to pick sides, 5G technology, Huawei, or Western companies. Global supply chains being reorganized. Who's right? Scale balancing arguments. The million-dollar question, who's right? The truth is, there's no absolute right or wrong here. Each country defends its interests based on its culture and history. The US has a point when it demands reciprocity. China still limits access for American companies. It worries about national security and sensitive technology. It wants to protect American jobs. China has a point when it says it's just developing. just as the US once did. It argues that the US changed the rules when it started losing. It defends its right to grow economically. What we're witnessing is a clash of cultures as much as economies. American individualism versus Chinese collectivism, Western impatience versus Eastern patience, free market capitalism versus state capitalism. And guess what? Neither side will win completely. The most likely outcome is a new world order with two power poles, each with its own rules. In the end, what did we learn today? Customs shape economies. The way each culture views business, work, and success directly influences its economic policies. There is no single recipe. The American model isn't superior to the Chinese one, nor vice versa. They're simply different, born from distinct histories and values. The world is changing. For the first time in decades, the US faces a real competitor, and that's redrawing the global map. We're all affected. This clash between giants impacts the price of your phone, your car, and even your food. Respect for differences, understanding each country as customs, helps us see why they act the way they do, without demonizing either side. And you, what do you think? Is the American individualist approach better, or is China's collective planning more effective? Or maybe the answer lies somewhere in between. Did you enjoy this comparison? Then help me keep creating this kind of content. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos. Leave a like if you learned something new today. Comment which countries you want to see next. Suggestions welcome. Brazil versus Argentina, France versus England, Japan versus Korea. And share this video with that friend who loves talking about economics and politics. Next week, another explosive cultural comparison is coming. Until then, take care and remember, the world gets way more interesting when we seek to understand differences instead of judging them. See you next time.